What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel again. It's your boy, the Retro Slasher, and I'm bringing you guys a brand new video today. So yeah, it's been pretty much exactly 1 year since I've started this channel. Ever since that channel, I've come a long way. I've met a lot of cool people from doing YouTube and whatever. Just really cool stuff, man. Back when I started my channel, one of my first videos ever, I did a little top 15 video. Now the top 15 was kind of a series I did in the beginning, early stages of my channel, just to make lists and stuff, because I really wasn't comfortable doing a whole bunch of other things at that time. But since then, I've grown a lot of confidence and whatever, and that one of my top 15 videos, I'm trying to say, is become one of my most viewed and watched and commented on videos of all time, which is really fucking amazing, man. Like I said, I've met a lot of cool people from that video alone. And that video, of course, is my top 15 80 slashers of all time. At the time I did that video, I was still a little new to collecting. I hadn't attained a lot of slashers at that time. But since then, my slasher collection has grown immensely. I've got a lot of stuff, man. I can't deny my collection any longer. But yeah, so what I did there, did 15. What I want to do in this video is redo the top 15 list, but make it a little bit harder on myself and double that. So that's right, I'm going to do my top 30 80s slasher films of all time. Now, in my original video, I did not include any of the major franchises such as Halloween, Friday the 13th, or Nightmare on Elm Street. I did have Sleepaway Camp and maybe Prom Night on that list. But since then, a lot of opinions have changed on different movies. Like I said, I've got a lot of new ones, things I've seen for the first time that might overtake a previous film that was on that list, or numbers I might have switched, and plus I have a really shitty memory. So this is how I feel at the moment, basically, is what I'm trying to say about each one of these films. Now, enough rambling on, I suppose. Let's get into this list here and start it off with number 30. I'm probably going to lose place with the numbers, by the way, because I'm really shitty at that. For some reason, I do it all the time in Top 10 Tuesday videos. But so bear with me if I misnumber anything. But yeah. So coming up at number 30 is a film. There might be a particular viewer of this video might be saying, "What the fuck, Andy? What the fuck, Retro? Why are you putting this film on your list? That movie's garbage and it's trash." But that's your opinion. This is mine. This movie's fun as hell. It deserves to be on the top 30 list, in my opinion. And that is Graduation Day. This is a trauma film released by Vinegar Syndrome on Blu-ray. Just an ultimate 80s cheese fest. Really corny stuff, man. The story is really silly. But there's some pretty gnarly kills in this. I can't deny the kills in this. There's lots of fun, man. It's just a cheese fest, and I personally love this film. So number 29 is a film here that possibly could be ranked a lot higher if I obtain the uncut version of this film. But for the version I got it alone, it's still deserving to be on my top 30 list, and that is Just Before Dawn. Pretty cool hitchhiker slash film involving multiple killers. Kind of a spoiler. And there probably will be some spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen this film, just skip it when I pull it out. But yeah, Just Before Dawn, man. Really cool stuff. I want to get the Blu-ray, but I don't know. Cigarette burned out from talking too much. Next up here on the list is Slaughterhouse. Yeah, really cheesy film yet again. I have a lot of blast with it. Cool environment set in, of course, a slaughterhouse. Really cool killer buddy. He's got an axe to grind. He's a memorable killer. He makes these funny pig noises, just as me shit in my pants laughing and peeing my pants laughing, whatever you want to call it, all the time. This is a region UK release, but it is region free. If you've been wondering about these slasher collections from 88 films, the slasher collection for some reason is their only region free ones, which is dope for me. Yeah, good stuff, man. Slaughterhouse. Right next up here on the list is the first holiday slasher to make an appearance, I believe. Yeah, and it's an infamous one from the early 80s, 1981, I believe, right in the heyday of the slashers, which 81 contained a lot of slasher films. And next up is Happy Birthday to Me. Yet again, it's a really cool slasher film. Kind of has a lot of plot holes and can get a little confusing at some time, but yet again, it has some gnarly kills in it. Of course, everybody knows the kebab kill, or whatever you call those things, you know, things you put your meat, like sausage and cucumbers and shit on. Yeah, one of those things. Good stuff, man. kind of a predictable ending. I can see a lot of people maybe not seeing it happening, but it's good stuff, man. Alright, next up on the list, yet again, that other viewer I allude to Graduation Day. Zach, if you're watching this video, I'm sorry to do it to you, bro, but I do find this one to be a little overhyped and a little bit overrated. And from Blue Underground, that is The Prowler. Yet again, I believe a lot of people hold this in high regards because of the one particular kill in this film. It does have two really gnarly kills in this film. The shower scene with the pick fork thing, yeah, really good stuff. But pretty decent body count. In my opinion, it's a little bit too slow to be higher up on my list, but I do personally enjoy this film a lot. Next up on the list is a film that I always allude to whenever I bring it up, like in a video or something. I have a love-hate relationship. I really don't hate this film. Sometimes I like it a lot more than other times. But a lot of people, I've seen people rank this as high as #1 of their favorite slasher films all the time, which rightfully so, because it's a really well-made one, and that is, of course, The Burning. Yeah, kind of a average camp slasher in my opinion. Yet again, it's a little overhyped because of the one kill, the raft scene, which you can kind of see there on the cover, but otherwise it has some pretty other cool kills in it. Cropsey is a decent killer, man. It's pretty much your standard prank gone wrong revenge slasher film, but good stuff, man. It's decent enough to be on the top list. Right next up here on the list is a fun film that's kind of a blast and kind of just cheesy and whatever. It teeters the slasher line because it kind of has a lot of action elements and everything to it too, but it's still a really blasted film, and that is Maniac Cop. Now, just pretty much imagine Jason or whatever as a cop in this Maniac Cop for you. Really badass killer, man. He just fucks people up in this film. Of course, it stars Bruce Campbell and Tom Atkinson. A bunch of other notable faces are in this film, but really good stuff. Alright, next up in the film, in my opinion, is a slasher film that gets overlooked a lot, but I have a blast with this film. It's so corny and cheesy, but it's really good. You kind of will notice the trend in my taste of slashers, of the corniness and cheesiness, hence Graduation Day, and now probably this, and that is Cheerleader Camp, starring Betsy Russell and Leif Garrett and some former playmates in this. I believe she was a porn star too, maybe Betsy Russell, I don't know. But yeah, really cheesy, cool. Yet again, another summer camp slasher film. Really cool twist at the ending. Yet again, a little predictable, but it's good stuff, man. If you haven't checked out Cheerleader Camp, you gotta check it out for the killer alone. They're pretty cool, man. I'm not gonna spoil that one, but it's one you gotta check out for yourself. All right, next up here on the list is film that I can see people argue not 100% a slasher film. It has a lot of slasher elements and it fits the time periods. Just an amazing cast in this. When I read off the names, you're like, holy shit. And that is Alone in the Dark, starring, of course, Martin Landau, Jack Pleasance, and Donald Pleasance. Yeah, also could be considered a home invasion type film, but oh man, this is just a really cool one. Cool story, great atmosphere in it. Yet again, not the highest body count in this one, but the killers in this film do wreak a lot of havoc. It's pretty gnarly, man. Just like the whole atmosphere, and like I said, man, it's really tense. All right, next up here on the list is a film from the 80s, making her first appearance on this list, starring Jamie Lee Curtis. She was in a bunch of slasher films, not too many, but a few in this time period. After her success in Halloween. And this is Terror Train. Yeah, really cool idea for this one to sit on New Year's Eve inside a moving train with a really cool premise behind the killer, man. He switches costumes every time he kills somebody, so you never know who the killer is for sure if you're in the movie. Really cool. Some pretty awesome death scenes in this one. Doesn't have the highest body count in it, but it has a decent one, and it's just like I said, the whole setting and idea behind this really cool. Yet again, another one of these pranks gone wrong revenge films. Alright, next up here on the list, it's a kind of infamous slasher film, and really surprising that a woman directed this, but if you know the background behind the story and her views on things, her political views on stuff during this time period, you'd understand it. And that is the Slumber Party Massacre. Now, this is really unrealistic, cheesy slasher film, just based on his weapon of choice alone, the drill. But and this is just a really gnarly, cool, man. A bunch of hot women half naked in this film with some really cool kills and blood and gore. Good stuff, man. Slumber Party Massacre. Next up here on the list is a film that I had recently saw for the first time, just recently when it was released this year on Blu-ray. But it's so good it has to be on the list somewhere, and that is Pieces. Now, I originally thought this was like a late 70s film, like 79, but I guess it's an 82 film, so which is good because it deserves a place on this list for being in the 80s. Yeah, just a really cool Spanish-directed horror film with some really nice kills and blood and guts and all kinds of good shit in it. It's just a straight-up nasty film in some parts. Good stuff, man. Next up here on the list is an Italian slasher film. One of not many Italian slasher films. They're more known for making straight up giallos, but this is Stage Fright, with an awesome killer set in like a theater house during a play rehearsal, whatever you call a play rehearsal. But really cool kills in this one. It, yet again, has a lot of comedic elements to it. It's kind of goofy in some parts. Some of the characters' reactions and choices are just so silly, but just good slasher film, man. Next up here on the list is a film that was released on Blu-ray right around the same time, and that is Curtains. One that I've been wanting for a long time because previous versions of this film were just all complete shit. Yet again, it kind of is infamous for its one particular kill, the ice rink scene, ice skating scene. But I just like the whole environment, isolation in this like house in the woods during the middle of winter. With a killer in a hag mask. Really cool stuff. Some young actresses, potential actresses getting picked off one by one. Good stuff, man. You can't go wrong with that. Next up here on the list is a film, yet again, like Pieces, was a very, well, kind of straight up obscure slasher film for pretty much everybody. I'm not saying Pieces was, but it's a film that I recently saw for the first time that probably many of you guys have. Just when something like this gets an edition like this, it just makes you think that there's limited choices for releases of other companies to put out stuff along this lines. And I hope it sold really well, so Arrow takes notice of that and hopefully continues the trend of releasing films like this, especially for me, man. And that is Blood Rage here. Really cheesy, corny film, but I loved it, man. It was so much fun. The whole killer premise behind the twin brother, and one of them's a killer or not. Really cool stuff, man. The opening kill in this is set in a drive-in. It doesn't get much better than that. Man, just set on this like housing lot area. I can't think of the word. What we technically call those things, like, but a housing community. But really good stuff, man. Some pretty gnarly kills in it. Not a whole bunch of blood and guts, and not a high body count, but the ones that are in there are pretty fun, and it has a really cool ending. Next up here on the list, now there's going to be a few of these films here on the list from here on out that you might question its authenticity of being a straight up slasher film. This one in particular I consider to be a straight up slasher film. I can't really talk about it though without spoiling it, but if you read the back of the DVD cover, it kind of does give away a lot. And that is Killer Party here, man, from Warner Brothers Archive Collection. Now, unfortunately, we're probably never going to see this on Blu-ray because Warner doesn't sub-license their stuff or put awesome movies like this out on Blu-ray. But for burn-on-demand DVD, it looks good. It's just fun of a film, man. Can't never go wrong with Killer Party, man. Good shit. Highly recommend it. Spend the $14. It's totally worth it. Alright, next here on the list is a 80s slasher film that I've talked about many times, and just the controversy behind it, people's opinions on it. When it came out, I need to take a drink. I'm talking too much. But that's April Fool's Day. Pretty cool kills. Wink, wink. But yeah, really good stuff, man. If you haven't checked out April Fool's Day, check it out, man. Hopefully one day down the line this will get a Blu-ray, because I know lots of people want this to come out on Blu-ray. Right next up here on the list is a film, try not to knock things over, another summer camp slasher film, and that is Madman. Of course, starring Madman Marge. He's a pretty gnarly killer, man. Some awesome kills in it. Just weird lighting in this film, but it's shot beautifully. Not the best acting. It's kind of cheesy in some points, but I do enjoy Madman. Has some really good kills, man. That's all that really matters when it comes to slasher films. All right, next up here on the list is a film that I wish I did have on Blu-ray, but the price is just ridiculous, and that is The House on Sorority Row. Yeah, really cool stuff, man. Cool killer in this one. Got a unique looking killer in this one, setting a sorority house on the college campus. Really cool kills in this one. Not one you really talk about a lot though, without giving too much away, but it's definitely a must own, man. Alright, next up here on the list, well, technically the next two here on the list, like I alluded to during Killer Party, are questionable slasher films, and this one in particular gets a lot of debate. Is it a slasher? Isn't it a slasher? I agree with people's arguments why it's not a slasher film, but in my opinion, it is a slasher film. Because what is a slasher film? People getting picked off one by one, using different kinds of weapons. It's not always straight up knife kills anymore, especially during this time period. They totally blew away from the knives, kind of, and just started focusing on other things. In this film, if you don't think it's a slasher, I'm cool with it, but I do, and that is Chopping Mall. Yeah, now, killer robot film. Picking people off one by one. People trapped inside a mall. Their life's in danger. Makes sense for a slasher film to me. Some really cool kills in this. Cheesy premise though with the killer super bots, kill bots. But it's fun, man. It's a really good stuff. And so happy that this is finally getting a Blu-ray release. Good signs for us collectors that a film that's owned by Lionsgate's getting a Blu-ray release thanks to the director Jim Winehouse. Good stuff, man. Now, next up here on the list, and again, another questionable slasher film due to its supernatural elements involved. But there's another film on this list. If you consider that a slasher film, you definitely have to consider this one as well, and that is Death Spa. Just all 80s cheese fest, man. I'm so glad I saw this movie. Yet again, there was another obscure one that probably not a lot of people have ever seen before, myself included, until Gorgon was kind enough to bless us with a Blu-ray of. Really good shit. Cheesy as all hell, just totally 80s awesomeness, man. Alright, next up here on the list, getting down into the lower numbers here. A film that I kind of used to overlook a lot for its brilliance. A few more watches of it since the last time I did my top 15 video. Definitely is a well-made movie, man. It's just great stuff, and that is Maniac. A lot of people consider this to be their favorite slasher of all time. Can't really knock it after watching it a few more times and truly understanding it for what it is. Yet again, it has a lot of different elements than your standard slasher film. Yes, the killer in this film does use a gun, which is not traditionally done in slasher films, but it's an interesting character study in my opinion, with some really cool slashing elements to it. And also spawned probably one of the best slasher remakes of all time, which is so surprising that something like that, this would spawn one of the best remakes of all time. But good stuff, man. Maniac. Right, next up here on the list, we will finally officially dip into one of the major franchises. I know, it's been a long time coming. Now, this franchise has 7 or 8 films in total in it, depending on how you look at it. A lot of people's favorite film in this franchise is the third. If you don't know what it is by now, that of course is The Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, number 1 is my all-time favorite for sure, man. It's the best one in this series. Like I said, a lot of people love Part 3, which would be my second favorite, right behind number 1. But just the power that Part 1 has, man, just what it did for the genre of horror and altogether saved horror and saved the slasher genre. They got a lot weirder after this. You can't knock that, but just really good stuff. Like I said, with like Death Spa, whatever. If you don't really consider that to be a slasher, then I kind of can't understand how you consider this to be a slasher. Yes, they both pick off one by one. He doesn't really slash anybody. He kills people unique, different ways in this one, and in all the films, but the first one is more traditional slasher than the rest of the films. So that's why I definitely put number one on here for sure. It's just one of my all-time favorite movies. Just good stuff. Everybody knows Nightmare on Elm Street. No need to talk about that. All right, now dipping back into the holiday horror here. You guys have probably been wondering where this one's been. This is my favorite Christmas holiday horror film of all time. Just so cheesy, but it's so much fun. Silent Night, Deadly Night. Now, unfortunately, this isn't the best Blu-ray ever, but it's still awesome that it's on Blu-ray. Just great Christmas film. Lots and lots of gnarly kills in it. Like I said in previous videos, my favorite all-time kill in the slasher film comes from this film when the teenage punk's sledding down the hill, and Santa Claus just chops his fucking head off, man. Just good stuff. I love this film. It's just so much fun. Just the opening sequence of this film too, like the rape scene and everything, so intense and so nasty, man. Traumatizing. All right, now next up here on the list, we're gonna get into the real shit here for sure. Now, I know a lot of times I say that I love this film to death, and I really do. The ones after this are definitely a higher echelon of slash film. Some from the 80s. Maybe we'll get to that. But anyways, next up here on the list, I really wish I could have like 10 number ones, because this would be one of the 10 number ones. But number one, this is Sleepaway Camp. I've talked about this movie a million times before. I'm not gonna get into it again. But I love Sleepaway Camp. Just some great shit, man. Alright, next up, we're gonna dip into my favorite horror franchise. I keep repeating favorite for some reason. My favorite horror franchise of all time. This is the sequel to the original film, which I probably consider to be the greatest horror film of all time, and that is Halloween. And that it leads us to Halloween 2 here. Probably the best sequel ever made in critical standpoints of any of these films from this era of movie making, or just in general in horror. Just really good stuff. That whole hospital setting, that whole darkness behind it. Michael Myers just stepping up his badass game in this one. A little more brutal than the first one. A little more blood in this one. Straight up great stuff, man. I love Halloween 2. These movies are all here were really hard to pick where to place them, man. But I base it on the rewatchability and how many times I watch it. Next up here on the list is a film that I recently reviewed on the holiday that it's set on. And in my opinion, and critically, it could be the best standalone slasher film ever made. There's a couple after this on this list that are standalones as well that I just personally enjoy more. But if you're looking at it at a critical standpoint, probably the best standalone slasher movie ever made, and that is My Bloody Valentine. Oh, just so great, man. It's just so good, man. I love My Bloody Valentine. Some really gnarly kills in it. Really cool killer, man. The whole twist involving the killer. It's good stuff, man. Harry Warden's one badass motherfucker, man. My Bloody Valentine. Also spawned a really great remake. Alright, next up, diving back into the major franchises. Now, I know Halloween 2 is part of my favorite horror franchise of all time, but that's because I love Part 1 so much, and I love Part 4 as well, and Part 5 as well, and Part 6 and Part 7. But my favorite Friday the 13th movie, if you don't know it by now, is Jason 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. I just love this film. This is one of my favorite all-time horror films of all time. And I love it. Just the kills in alone. It's just so funny and goofy, but just really fucking fun, man. The whole setting on the boat I thought is awesome. Like I said all the time, when he punches that black guy's head off the roof, man, I just love that kill. The whole guitar scene in the burrows of the boat. Just love this film, man. Friday the 13th Part 8. Now we're getting into the number 2 in 1, which really should be no surprise. Now these two films, I argue all the time, that are my favorite standalone slasher films. I always find a hard time to pick on which one to go with. But I finally did it. Number 2 is Intruder from 1986, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, who knows? Intruder, set in a grocery store. Really cool kills. Really, really gory. Not really, really gory, but has a lot of cool gore. The whole compact kill. The whole ending is really cool as well. It's kind of a twist of an ending. One that I personally didn't see coming with the first time I ever saw this film, which is always a good thing, man, if they can fool you. I just love Intruder. And number 1, to no surprise to anybody, Slaughter High. Yes, the ultimate cheese fest slasher film. My opinion, my favorite standalone slasher. Just so good, man. Marty's one badass motherfucker. Cool mask design. Cool setting in the abandoned school. Even though everybody in this film is way older than they're supposed to be. Even though it is set on a reunion of a school. But the actors just look like they're in their 40s or whatever. They're supposed to be in their early 20s. But anyways, Slaughter High, my number 1 80s slasher film of all time, in my opinion. Now, like I said, all these are just my opinion. I'm sorry if I didn't include your favorite 80s slasher film on my list. These are mine. These are the ones I tend to watch the most. Especially in the top 10, maybe top 15. These are the ones I watch all the time. But that's been my list, guys. I hope you enjoy. If you want to make your own list, do it down in the comments below. Or make your own video. I would love to watch your guys' favorite slasher film list. You don't have to do 30. You could do 10. You could do 15. You could do 20, 25, whatever. I'm just curious. Let's get the slasher ball rolling again and get back to killing motherfuckers. Not really. Not literally. Just figuratively. But I'll check you guys out later. I'm the Retro Slasher. Peace.